The 7 train had my name. And a few months after linking up with those guys and establishing like our own little breaking crew and going to... Are you guys familiar with the movie Star Wars?
Star Wars?
I don't think
Star
I've seen
Wars
it.
about graffiti?
No, I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think I've seen
Okay,
that one.
I'm sure people watching it, or at least some people watching it, are familiar with it. Star Wars is a documentary. I guess the brainchild of the movie was a guy named Henry Chalfant, who's a art guy, photographer, and was fascinated by the graffiti scene, right? And so he and this guy named Tony Silver, I believe, directed the movie. And there's a scene in Star Wars that takes place inside a roller skating rink called USA. And at this roller skating rink, the legends of hip-hop, from breaking, Rocksteady crew, Dynamic Rockers, who were from Queens, and those were our idols. Again, I wasn't in the Bronx, I'm in Queens, so Dynamic Rockers, like, we looked up to those guys. Run-D.M.C would perform there. New Edition would perform there. Cold Crush Brothers. It was on 69th Street, Roosevelt Avenue. I lived on 89th Street, Roosevelt Avenue. So we would walk there, kids, and just, like, take in all of these stars and all of this, like, expression and creativity. And so what was it like for me as a kid? What I was experiencing in my living room, courtesy of my brother and his friends, I was also experiencing on practically every street corner of my neighborhood, because all of us were immersed in this culture that was, you know?
Yeah, you couldn't get away from it.
You couldn't get away from it, and it was beautiful. And although we were in Queens, the beauty of New York City is that it's this grid that's connected by this amazing transit system. So
You're getting to right what I was about to ask you about.
you had Rocksteady crew who lived in the Bronx commuting to Jackson Heights, Queens, and battling the Dynamic Rockers who were from Queens.
Okay.
You see, so earlier I said, well, I'm not trying to give off this impression that I was in the Bronx, but I was in Jackson Heights. And that was its own...
Yeah. The Bronx came to you sometimes.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Or we created our own version of the Bronx other times. You know what I'm saying? And that was the beauty of New York City, to answer your question. I know I probably took long answering it,
That's all right.
No,
but
good.
yeah, it's like New York City is built on this amazing grid that connects you to different cultures.
Within a train ride.
Within a train ride, within a 30-minute train ride, you could end up in another world.
Yeah.
And then as a hip-hop artist, you bring that with you as you express your creativity in the form of dance or DJing or rapping or graffiti.
Do all the trains go through the entire city, or like some of them just go through Queens?
I live in a central part of Queens between Roosevelt, 69th Street, where USA Roller Skating Rink was located, the epicenter for us of hip hop, and where I lived, 89th Street, Roosevelt Avenue. In between that, you had 74th Street. And 74th Street is like what Grand Central Station is to Manhattan. 74th Street, Roosevelt Avenue was to us. What I mean by that is you had every train, the F train, the E train, the 7 train stopped there, the G train, and from there you could go anywhere.
I was trying to get an idea of, like, if you tagged up a train in Queens, would people in like other boroughs see it and you get your name out that way?
I was a graffiti writer at 11, 12 years old, and I would, for the most part, tag up the 7 train, and the 7 train ran from Flushing, still does, all the way to Times Square, Manhattan. So I'm not trying to give off this impression that I was all city or anything like that. I was 11 years old.